presentation on everything you need to know about ballads. Just a brief history of the ballad. So the tradition began in Europe as a folk tradition in the early days, and it was often accompanied by music and or sing-song songs. And it was an oral tradition passed down by word of mouth, so many of you may recognize this from like the classic tales, the one from the Sixth Grade Project, Robin Hood, etc. And over time, these stories obviously undergo changes as people exaggerate or lie or just change the story entirely. And that's part of what makes it so interesting. And as I said, fabricated strong stories which became tall tales. Okay, so here we got a classic ballad. We've got Robin Hood on the right. He's one of the most iconic ones, and I guess, again, his role was exaggerated throughout the times of history. And here we have another one titled An Excellent Ballad, and that's exactly what it is. Again, it portrays monsters, which we know don't really exist in real life, but through word of mouth, they can.
Go through a few slides. These are pretty much the main points of what ballads are and what make up ballads. It's plot-driven. It usually has a simple rhyme scheme and a very simple structure.
And they are also, one of the aspects of a ballad is it's very plot-driven. So usually it tells a simple dramatic story, maybe about like weddings or somebody breaking up with somebody or somebody dying. And usually goes through pretty quickly how it happened and what happened and these emotions and all that stuff. Usually in third-person narrative, so it's not really in I form. It's usually the poet is telling the story.
My darling.
And then ballads usually have really simple rhyme schemes, usually an A-B pattern, but they could follow pretty much any real rhyme scheme. But and then this is just an example of an A-B rhyme scheme. This is a great one. I love noodles, give me oodles. Make a mound up to the sun. Noodles are my favorite foodles. I eat noodles by the ton. So you can see oodles and foodles rhymes and sun and ton rhyme.
Just a quick
Your
little
classic A-B rhyme.
Classic.
Sweetheart, I really don't.
Third big element to a ballad is the simple structure. Simple structure is a form of how it's organized. It's a simple metrical structure and sentence structure. So usually you see them, for example, we have this ballad over here that we'll read, but it's basically has the same pentameter or tetrameter, whatever it is, have roughly the same amount of syllables. They usually look like just a nice little rectangle because they have the same amount of lines. And they're sing-song because they're easy to remember, and like Shannon said, in the olden times it's easier for people to read them and speak them down when they didn't really have writing, or most people couldn't really read in the olden times, so they were more sing-song and easy to remember.
I really love you. And
That's also why songs are sometimes called ballads, like love songs, like a love ballad also, because they're sing-song and they're rhyme.
do you kill me? Yeah, you kill me, my dear.
So we got the Bridal Ballad by Edgar Allan Poe here. So to go through it, we have the ring is on my head and the wreath is on my brow. Satin and jewels grand are all at my command. And I am happy now. And my Lord, he loves me well. But when he breathed his vow, I felt my bosom swell, for the words rang as a knell. And the voice seemed his who fell in the battle down the dell, and who was happy now.
But he spoke to reassure me, and he kissed my pallid brow, while a reverie came over me, and to the churchyard bore me. And I sighed to him before me, thinking him dead, delore me. Oh, I am happy now. And thus the words were spoken, and this the plighted vow. And though my faith be broken, and though my heart be broken, here is a ring as a token that I am happy now. Would God I could awaken, for I dream I know not how, and my soul is sorely shaken, lest an evil step be taken, lest the dead who is forsaken may not be happy now.
Oh, why?
First we have, as a ballad, you can see that you have the rhyme scheme. You have some repetition with the I am happy now, which we were talking about, and it helps to dig in the meaning of this poem and how what Edgar is trying to express with this girl who is apparently getting married but isn't necessarily happy about it. So when we ran through the poem, we kind of looked through how this poem is moving and what's happening, and she's getting married, but we kind of figured out that from these few stanzas, she isn't necessarily happy about it, and from these I am happy now lines, you can kind of tell that maybe her marriage isn't something that she's excited about, though it took us a while to figure out why necessarily.
Yeah, so she's kind of narrating the classic discontent bride. It begins with her talking about the physical aspects of all the glamour and all the wealth that she's coming into, or that she is into already. And you can see through the progression, she says, and I am happy now. And then in the next stanza, she says, and who is happy now? After she's talking about how the voice seemed his who fell in the battle down the dell. We kind of thought that that might be her talking about somebody else, and she's saying, is he happy now? We don't really know. And then her husband, or the person who she's marrying, is reassuring her, and he's kissing her pallid brow. And she's kind of forcing herself to be happy, it seems, in this stanza. She's saying, oh, I am happy now, in quotations. And then through the end, so this in the last stanza, she says, and my soul is sorely shaken, lest an evil step be taken, lest the dead who is forsaken may not be happy now. So we kind of interpreted this as her not really coming to terms with her marriage and not exactly being happy, and she's kind of confused on the whole situation.
So we just thought this was a good example of a ballad and how it kind of goes through a story that's love-based and a little more sing-songy.
Yeah, definitely dramatic and romantic.
Are you feeling my ears? With unsaid, not said. My darling, darling, every morning is different with you. Oh, my darling, darling, every morning is important, can't afford it, it's about time.
Are you looking?